Hi besties, thanks for clicking on this video. There are many unpopular K-pop opinions video here on YouTube, but a lot of these opinions have been said a million times already. So today I'm gonna share with you some unpopular opinions that you might have not heard that much before. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. After Wonyoung, Yujin is the second fourth-gen it girl. Every day I hear K-pop stans claiming their fave is fourth-gen it girl, but their fave not only doesn't touch Wonyoung popularity-wise, they don't even come close to Yujin. And as much as some of y'all are gonna list other female idols who you think are on Wonyoung's level or just below her in terms of relevancy, the second it girl is literally Yujin. The amount of influence she has in South Korea is actually astonishing. First of all, she is totally dominating the variety field, and she's the fourth-gen idol that has the most brand deals and the most commercials. She's endorsing so many different brands and it's pretty much impossible escaping her if you're in South Korea. Her face is probably everywhere in the streets and on television as well, pretty much like Wonyoung. The only difference is that Wonyoung has more clout online and she tends to go more viral among K-pop stans, but Yujin is literally the fourth-gen it girl after Wonyoung. There might be other female idols who are more popular on stan Twitter, but that's not how you measure the it girl status. What matters most is how popular and generally recognized you are in South Korea, and Yujin and Wonyoung have all the attention as of now. At the end of the day, this isn't a big deal though, so I will never understand people that get into fan wars to prove their fave is the real it girl. So even if you disagree with me, I honestly don't care. It's not that big of a deal and this is just my opinion. G-Friend's dancing skills were actually quite overrated. Nothing against G-Friend, but it will always baffle me how much you all love to put their dancing on a pedestal when they were not all that. Their choreos were intricate, I'm not gonna deny that, but they were not as impressive as you all made them out to be, especially if we compare their choreos to groups that came after them, like ITZY, LE SSERAFIM, Luna, NMIX, and many more. The truth is that G-Friend only had one good dancer, Sheen B, and the others were mediocre at best. They didn't have a strong dance line like other third-gen groups. Just one good dancers and other members who looked more competent than they actually were, only because there were a couple of challenging moments in their choreography, but they were definitely not the best girl group at dancing like some of their stans claimed. There's absolutely no problem with YG giving a similar vibe and concept to all their artists. Most people seem to have a problem with YG giving most of their artists songs with similar vibes and concept, but I don't think this is a problem at all. YG always made it pretty clear that the company was gonna have a very specific vibe, a very specific sound that would transfer to all their groups. They are a company that has always pushed this cool bad boy and bad girl vibe. It's been like this since the very beginning and I find it a bit silly how people are still complaining to this day. Every trainee that signs with YG totally knows that the group they will debut in is gonna have the YG sound and style. So why do you always have to act as if the idols themselves were sad that their group ends up having the typical YG vibe? That's literally what they signed up for. I seriously doubt that if a trainee hoped to debut in a cutesy group they would join YG. And I know that sometimes it makes sense to complain about a company recycling concepts for their groups. But there's a difference between YG, a company that has always made it pretty clear they have a specific style, and other companies that usually debut groups with different concepts but sometimes debut groups that are like copies of each other. In that case it feels weird, because these companies don't have a company sound, so it makes no sense for some of their groups to be completely different and for others to be way too similar. But YG has its own style and if you don't like it then that's fine, just stop complaining. I'm not the biggest fan of YG's sound and concept, but it's not like you see me complaining every time a YG group debuts. Just get over it. Minors being trainees is just as bad as debuting and becoming idols, if not worse. Whenever I hear people saying they don't want minors to debut, I always think about how much better it would actually be if instead of debuting they continued being trainees, and I think it would actually be worse. I just want to say that I also think very young idols shouldn't debut. For example, 14 and below is surely too young, but I'm talking about idols who are still minors but a bit older. I think being a trainee is actually worse because you pretty much have to go through the same hardships idols go through, and on top of it all you are not making any money and you're just accumulating trainee debt. Trainees also have to diet just like idols because they are forced by the company. Trainees also have little free time because they spend most of their days practicing and it's not like they can freely enjoy their youth. Trainees also face a lot of scrutiny, maybe even more than idols because they are constantly being evaluated and judged in order to see who deserves to debut and who doesn't. which means this is a huge source of stress. Then trainees can also be sexualized by people that are working with them, and they can also be mistreated. The only thing trainees don't have to deal with is the sexualization and the negative judgment from the public, but they can still deal with sexualization and negative judgment from their company, so it's not that much better. The thing is, if you think no minor should debut, then you should also think that no minor should be a trainee. That's the hard truth. No group should debut without having any English speaker. I think having English speakers in groups is something that most people don't seem to care about. In fact, there are so many popular groups out there don't really have anyone who is particularly good at English, and even if they still make it work, I feel like there should always be at least one member who is somewhat decent at speaking English. I don't mean super fluently, but someone who is able to hold a conversation in interviews or overseas schedules. I think that oftentimes things get really awkward when literally none of the members speaks English. And nowadays that K-pop is targeting the Western market this much, I find it essential to have someone with decent skills in the groups. If you think about it, when it comes to most jobs, knowing English is a must, especially those jobs that require you to speak with foreigners. So I don't think it should be any different for K-pop idols, and I understand that some people might think this is an entitled way of thinking, coming from people whose first language is English and who think everyone needs to learn their language. The thing is, English is not my first language and I'm just being realistic. It's stupid denying that it's important for groups to know it, especially those groups that target the Western market so heavily. With that, I'm not saying that everyone should be super fluent or anything, but at least one person should be capable to hold a conversation in order to help the other members when needed. Judging songs based on views, streams and charting kinda makes sense sometimes. I'm not saying that a song quality is determined by streams or its position on the charts. However, the numbers a song pulls can be an indicator of how much people are enjoying it, and we all know how people react when they see something being very popular. They tend to think there must be a reason if something is so popular and they'll be more inclined to check it out. For example, if you're trying to get into a group, you will most likely start by watching the music videos that have more views and listening to their most popular songs. And this just makes so much sense because you will think that maybe those songs have something particular if they are more famous than the others. Same thing goes for restaurants, for example. If there are many restaurants you can choose from, you will most likely go to the one that has the most amount of positive reviews. Obviously, then your personal taste will come into play, and you will judge things based on your preference instead of the popularity. But it makes sense thinking some people might judge songs based on their numbers in the beginning. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but it kinda makes sense and I can understand why it happens. This is all I have for this video. Let me know what you thought of these unpopular opinions and feel free to comment some of your unpopular opinions as well. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching till the end. Bye besties.